And welcome to the Jimmy Daytona Show. Tonight, I have Leila Pejman, the founder of Babooshy Tea, with some really good black, green, and herbal teas, such as butterfly pea flower. And she also has had an interest in life. She's done a fair amount of travel and has had a pretty good career. And I'm looking forward to hearing more of what she has to say about her new endeavor. And hopefully you guys will, purchase some tea from her too. Welcome, Leila. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, how did you get into this endeavor? What prompted it?
Well, I guess it's a couple things. I feel like being coming from, I was raised by two Persians. I don't feel like I even said that right. My parents are from Iran, and I was born and raised in North America, but it was always something that I observed throughout my entire culture is like every time guests would arrive in our home, you serve tea. And so it was very prominent. And so anytime someone come in, you always serve tea. And there was always this like kind of, it's almost a little bit sexist. It's like tradition. They'll say like, if a girl can properly serve tea, they're ready for marriage. It's like that kind of like, I don't know how you describe that, but they used to do that. It was like a very common thing. So tea was very important in my growing up, and just like grow in my life in terms of like making people feel welcome. And that's what it always represented. So however, during COVID and during COVID, I started to blend teas myself because my mom was actually someone that always used to blend teas, and I would actually bring it to certain friends who love tea, especially my friends who are Persian who happens to love tea. Because my mom used to always just blend a bunch of black teas, and so it was always that part of my part of something that I just did. But during COVID, when everything was just under lockdown, and I had moved back from Toronto to Vancouver, I just started to like blend teas, and even TikTok um taught me about butterfly pea flower, and I just started to like have fun with like blending teas and just making care packages for my friends back in Toronto. And so I kind of started there, but simultaneously during COVID I was also working on this project with a former coworker of mine, and she wanted to start a marketplace for local businesses. So I was really working with a lot of e-commerce businesses, small businesses, and also because I was so infatuated with TikTok, and I was consuming a lot of TikTok content. I always was learning a lot about small business owners and how they were getting going and getting started. And so I just decided to kind of dabble into it, and play with Shopify. That's my e-commerce service that I use, and kind of to get understand customers a little bit more. And it just turned out to be more of a kind of a passion project. It's really fun to kind of create just on your accord and what you feel like wanting to create, and even designing and just even that process. And so and you don't have to necessarily report to someone, you could just be more playful. And so that's kind of where it started.
Well, that's wonderful. Yeah, how did you get the word out? You mentioned Shopify, and you did a lot of TikToking. How do people come
TikTok
across?
is my favorite. TikTok really helped me grow fast. Um, I like my like I always find it interesting when I get a sale out in Kentucky. Um, but it's through TikTok that has helped me expand. Now TikTok changes its algorithm, so I think I wish if I can go back in time. I did launch it a little late. Like the thought was always there, but I launched it earlier this year. Um, and so if I'd started in 2020 or 2021, I think with TikTok, I would have done exceptionally well. But like right now with TikTok and their algorithm changes, I'm not getting the same kind of growth as I once was. And so it's just a matter of like going on. I create a lot of social content. Emails are sent out. And it's just, and that's part of the, entrepreneurship, I guess, is just trying to figure it out and pivoting, and then also defining my customer.
Well, that's wonderful. I saw one of your posts that said you had a lot more followers on TikTok than you did on Instagram.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
what was that
Instagram I
series?
don't because I don't pay for ads, so I'm a little cheap on that front. But I know those days are numbered, so I gotta be open-minded to it.
Yeah, with butterfly pea flower. Yeah, what's how does it taste? What are some of its features and benefits as far as health is concerned?
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, that's what I learned. Even through like I was educated through TikTok is kind of becoming more of a trend, and especially the unique feature of butterfly pea flower is that it does change color. So when you brew it, it's just they're just dried flowers, and these flowers are coming from Thailand. They're predominantly from South Asia. The flowers are grown predominantly in South Asia, but the ones that you have at your in your hand right now is from Thailand. And in Thailand, they refer this as a health drink. So if you actually go to a spa, they do serve this tea as a health drink. And there's evidence that shows that it actually has higher source of antioxidants than green tea. So when you brew it, it turns into this blue color. And when you squeeze a little bit of lemon or lime, it changes to a purple. So it's really kind of cool. And a lot of chefs use it as a color dye because it does have a beautiful color to it. Um, yeah, it's, getting into this tea space, it's like, a lot of times people drink tea for the benefits because there's specific herbs that are in blends that are, therapeutic and healing. But in terms of butterfly pea flower, I just like to put a disclaimer because I don't like to I specify the benefits based on evidence that is out there, and I try to put sources, but everybody is different, and in terms of what they reflect on how it works for them. I did have someone from the States. She learned about butterfly pea flower from my channel through TikTok, and she keeps purchasing it from me, and she emailed me about a month ago to say, like, I think this has been really helping my muscles and her joints heal. And so she's like, my body feels a lot better ever since I've been consuming this tea. So everybody is different. A lot of times with butterfly pea flower, it works to hydrate the skin to give more of a natural and glowing skin complexion.
I've seen that you can actually mix it. You can make mimosas, you can make other types of desserty
That's
drinks.
one of my favorite is mimosas.
Oh, butterfly pea flower mimosa. How's it taste, and how's it different from like a conventional mimosa in your experience?
So so that was actually one of the series I did during the summer. Was I was making specific tea cocktails with the teas that I have. So with mimosa, I always like with a mimosa is to freeze orange juice as an ice cube and then put that in to a nice glass and pour your, prosecco, champagne, butterfly pea flower. And it just gives that really nice color, just that purple color. Some of my, and that's the thing with tea is like you don't have to just drink it hot. You can drink it as an iced tea, and mix it with other things like a bubbly flavored soda, or some kind of a little bit of dash of juice like cranberry juice. Now back to the tea cocktail. I started to infuse some of our tea blends, such as like Earl Grey. Earl Grey makes a really good French 75.
Wow.
Or you can also infuse, like I have a fruity lemonade blend with a lot of dried fruits in it, and butterfly pea flower is also in it. And if you infuse it in gin, it's really good.
Wow, that's wonderful.
Make a little cocktail like that. So yeah, you can have a lot of fun with the tea leaves.
Yeah, I was just I was doing some research on your endeavor. You mentioned iced teas. I read about koridashi, where you
Mhm.
put the leaves over the ice, let it melt, and then go to town with it. How does that taste? I haven't done it in that way, but I'm pretty intrigued.
Yeah, I mean, it's a koridashi is an iced brewing technique that originated in Japan, and it's basically you take a bowl and you put ice in it and you sprinkle tea leaves over top and you wait for it to melt. And the purpose of that is to really help it, take away the bitterness, bring out more of the tea leaf sweetness. And it's actually, yeah, it does make a difference. Um, I usually like to, um, and I think in Japan they did that because it would get it's very hot there in the summer. And so the ice does quickly melt. And it's quite refreshing when you get it just freshly melted, and sipping it is a refreshing moment. Um, but I used to in the summer kind of because I was always bad at drinking water, and so I would make herbal tea, and put a pitcher, fill it with ice, and layer it with some like tea leaves, um and let that sit overnight, and then strain it and then have it during the day as my source of water.
Wow, well, that
Yeah.
that's good. You got to be careful to stay hydrated. Sometimes you don't realize you're thirsty until after the fact. So it's good to stay hydrated, especially during the hot summer.
Well, exactly. Oh, I mean, not just the hot summer. You got to be, I feel like it's very important to stay hydrated.
Yeah, you mentioned some of your teas are have adaptogens. What are those, and how can they help you?
Yeah, I mean, great question. So adaptogens are herbs, and when they're consumed regularly, they bring balance to the body to help handle like stress and cortisol levels. And some of the herbs that I've been working with, there's Tulsi basil, turmeric, which everyone knows about it, and moringa. And these are all part of the adaptogen herb family. And it's becoming like a buzzword, and I'm still like figuring it out. But I think that was part of, Babushi's um, research before I kind of like actually started, launched the site and everything, was that I was looking at, herbs, like from my own personal experience was like I did achieve, in 2020 I started to get a couple autoimmune diseases, and it was kind of
Mhm.
like bizarre because no one really knew the source and like the reasoning, and there wasn't really any cure. And so I'm like kind of left with like, going like, okay, well that's weird, where you have a condition and no one's really has a solution, and they're just like, oh, because autoimmunes are such a wide range, and a lot of times you don't know where it's coming from. And I think emotional stress, physical stress, all sorts of levels of stress is kind of a part of the formation of any sort of autoimmune disease that happens to a person. Again, I'm not a health expert. I'm just kind of researching on my own, my own experience. And so, yeah, like, and I think with COVID, it was interesting how we were as a society taught to slow down. We were, or not taught, forced to slow down, and really taught to kind of like take a different pace of life. And I think most of myself, I was overstressed at work. I was overstressed in many areas, and you just feel like you were just kind of like on this like hamster wheel all the time because you just had to get things done, right? And I think that's the beauty of COVID, was that it allowed people to slow down. Now I know how challenging it was and I can see that for myself, like that was what it taught me, was to slow down a lot more. Um, uh, and I can't say that on a collective scale, because I know a lot of people suffered, and a lot of moms were even on higher stress level. because they had to like homeschool their children and then in addition work too. So they had a lot going on. So it was not everyone was able to slow down, but the systems were disrupted, and hopefully for the better for most people. But anyways, my point is like, yeah, it taught me to slow down, and I started to learn more about certain adaptogens and especially Tulsi basil and how it does help reduce your stress level. Now, again, it has to be consumed over time and regularly to notice it. And some of the easy ways to kind of get yourself into to be introduced to it is through teas, because it's very subtle. It's not an aggressive form, but again, they're just natural herbs based from plants around the world.
I got my tea ball right here.
Look at you. You're a great customer.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, the four I got from you, I got butterfly, pea flower, peppermint paradise, Empress Rose. I love the black tea cardamom mix, and then rise and shine, the mate.
Yeah.
What
Which
are
one
those like?
do you like the most?
I like butterfly pea flower the most. Usually
Really?
my system for teas is I usually do black tea if I'm really tired in the morning, green tea like on a basic day, and then once it's 1 or 2 o'clock, I pivot over to the herbal teas.
Yeah.
I grew up, I'm purebred Irish. My mom's from Ireland. I'd have like a cup of Irish tea in the morning, every day.
Yeah.
Berries or something
Nice.
similar, and couldn't have gotten into Cornell without it. Had me on my game at Chaminade High School, and in later years I started pivoting to green tea just because I didn't need that much caffeine, and usually and I don't like drinking caffeine after 2 o'clock just so I can
Yeah.
just get to sleep at a civilized hour.
Right.
I've drink a fair amount of rooibos as well, rooibos. I know you have one of those too. What's that one like?
Yeah, I do. I still want to stay on I just want to ask you another question. So you do, what do you think of the teas?
I'm very impressed with all four of them. I like Empress Rose just because it's got a cardamom mix. I am big into Middle Eastern food, and that's one of the flavors that they use. There's also an ice cream shop called Toscanini's in Cambridge that used to have cardamom in one of their ice creams, or kulfi they called it.
Yeah.
That's like one of the best ice creams I've had of all time.
Wow.
So I got intrigued when I saw that the Empress Rose had cardamom. And Rise and Shine, the mate, it's green tea with just a lot more flavor to it.
Yes.
I just like how you include a lot of flavors, a lot of flowers. It's just different from the basic tea that I typically drink. I usually like it as a treat, especially on a Friday. And it's become a tradition, for me to take advantage of refined teas, and I hope other people listening check you out.
I appreciate that. I'm glad that you like the cardamom tea. That one's kind of like my original, the OG, what got me going. It's very comforting. I actually had someone make an ice cream out of it, which was cool.
Yeah, speaking of ice cream.
Speaking of ice cream, exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
how did they mix it in the ice cream, or
They used one of those ice cream makers. It looked really good, and they're out in Toronto, so it's too bad I couldn't try it. But
oh man,
yeah, I got yeah, I gotta get a recipe, or maybe I have, and maybe I have to turn it into an Instagram post.
yeah, or a TikTok post
That's
too.
the other thing about starting that's the thing about starting a business, is like you got to do so many different roles, and like you got to learn new skill sets, like video, creating like photos and all that stuff. So it's just always like something to do, and it's very time consuming, because I felt like TikTok for a long period of time, I just felt like I was doing that full time.
Wow,
Because it
that
was
can
just
be a
like
time
I was
suck.
still learning, and it was like I was learning, and I was still like what's the word, it was just like editing took quite a while. But I'm always curious if it's just me, or if everyone else is kind of in the same boat. Like maybe I am slower, but I think you're on TikTok right now.
Yeah, I just started it. I went to a podcasting conference and they recommended it, and I don't go on often. I'll just put short videos of Nefertiti chasing shadows, or sunrises or sunsets, or me driving a truck on Daytona Beach. I haven't done much with it, but I check everybody else's out, including yours, and I've come away impressed. It can be a time suck though, that's for sure.
Definitely. I can be very consumed. I learned so much. Definitely learned how to cook during COVID because of TikTok. Um, so what did your podcast conference say about like recommending to go on TikTok?
They just said that so many young people are on it, and it's become so popular that it's the best way to get to get your brand out there.
Mm-hmm.
And I haven't personally specifically done it as far as my podcast, but my handle is the Jimmy Daytona Show. So it's one way of getting it out there. And as time goes along, I'll start editing clips and stuff and put it on there, and hopefully see where it takes me.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the beauty of TikTok is that I find it's not just young people. And I feel like whoever's trying to enter the TikTok space, it's like, it's not just like, I think everyone thinks it is Gen Z dominated. I get that. But there are so many people in any age, like all the way to their 90s, and they're killing it on TikTok. Like they are funny and I feel like it's just bringing out people's inner voice and inner like fun. And I think that's why I like the platform a lot.
Wow, that's really cool that you've had a good experience in it, to help get your endeavor going.
Mm-hmm.
What are your impressions of the four teas that I have? Like we talked about the cardamom, the butterfly, pea flower. What about Rise and Shine and Peppermint Paradise? What are those like?
Well, like in terms of like what are those like? Well,
Yeah, in terms of like what's been.
it's
What
like
was
I
your
almost want to
impression
ask you that question. What do you think it's like?
Yeah, Peppermint Paradise. I just I like it as an afternoon tea. I
Mhm.
like it. I like it because it's an herbal, and I just like the unique and diverse flavors.
Yeah, there's more. What I like about it too is like it's a peppermint tea, and that's the solid base. But there's other nice flowers in there as well. To it's not a basic peppermint tea, and that's how I kind of
Yeah.
define it. Um, thank you. And so always good to have peppermint tea. It's very good on your digestion. And it's just a very like relaxing tea, especially before you go to bed. As for mate, what I really like about that one is like what I've noticed over time is like, I don't really do that much on black teas. Even though my Empress Rose is my favorite and I can't let that one go. And then we also have like an Earl Grey. Hmm. And so those are like my two favorites. So what I find with people that come on my site is they like things. I think people that come to Babooshy typically are getting teas that are not giving them so much of the jitter. They want the herbal blends, and they just want things that are just like less caffeinated. Like just drinks that are less caffeinated. Because everyone drinks typically coffee in the morning. But then later on, like you were saying earlier, like after 2, you really got to reduce the caffeine. But the thing with mate, it's originated in South America, and it's a form of leaf that is supposed to give you a lot of energy, but without the crash or the jitters that coffee does. And so that's why I like it, and is because it's really kind of high energy, but it's not supposed to kind of give you that spike the way that coffee does, or even like certain black teas do. So that's why I love a mate blend and still want to play around with mates some more, and hopefully have another one out soon.
Oh, really? What's the new mate going to be like, you think? What do you
I
have
have
in mind?
no idea. I haven't really figured it out yet.
I was going to ask you, like, what other teas are in the works, might be in the works. What would your ideal, new product be, or
Yeah,
new
I mean,
release?
I'm still like no, right now there's no like everything, like, I again want to play with the mates. I'm really liking oolong. And that's more of a medium based caffeine. The juicy watermelon is just such a, what I really like about the flavoring of it is that it's not sweet at all. But it's just a slight little refreshing flavor or tint to it. But oolong is just such a robust tea. So that's something that I like to also kind of like focus a little bit more on as well. I do want to, I haven't, I've been doing a lot of research on like matcha, because that is amazing, but it's just trying to find the right source to supply it as something that I'm still working on, because matcha is beautiful, but like my matcha will, with Babooshy, I don't like adding a lot of sugar in. I don't add sugar to our tea blends. There's not like, cutesy kind of blends where there's like candy in it to make it fun and stuff. And so a lot of times matcha, I've noticed, is that people there's like flavorful ones and there's a lot of sugar in it. So yeah, that's this thing I'm still like working on and researching, and hope to have that soon. But you asked me about rooibos, and yeah, like we have actually now 3 rooibos blends.
Nice.
So 2 of them have like a specific fruit dominance. We have the Pair of Pentacles. It's a very spicy, flavorful rooibos, and a nice peach rooibos, which is definitely peachy and very popular in the summer. And then I don't know if you said you didn't get this one, but like we have a romantic getaway one.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, that one's a nice, it's how, there's rose hip, there's rose flowers, there's a lot of like flowers that are in there as well to make it beautiful. I love it, hence romantic.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I noticed you have like inner glow, common chamomile, butterfly ginger, tulsi as well. You got quite a few blends out there.
Yeah, we do, we're growing, so it's cool, like it's and I'm still figuring out like my customer, and just trying to find tea blends that are delicious but serve have calming effects on the body.
Yeah, I know in my case, like I've always loved tea, and when I saw that you were doing this, I wanted to support your endeavor.
Thank
And
you.
I'm really loving the teas, and it's like these are like the high end teas that I like to do once a week. I got other basic teas that I like at home. This is like my treat.
Yeah, well, thank you, that's awesome to hear. I do hope to get like offer tea bags soon, because I know that would be very convenient. I've been trying to roll out an office tea program,
Oh,
where
nice.
I have like, yeah, our teas in specific glass jars. And I've just been working with, it's funny, in Toronto, I had delivered a sample to a couple offices, but then it's funny because everyone's really working from home still in Toronto.
Yeah.
But in BC, there are a few offices that I've offered a sample program, and it's been being received pretty nicely. So it's I think now with the warmer months, people are really well, they like their morning coffees, and I myself am like that too. And then yeah, and they'll have like tea in the afternoon as a nice little break.
No, that's great that you have the office program as well. And how much business do you do in Canada versus United States?
It's about the same. It's like, it's hard to say. And I feel like every month is like so different, and people like to ask this question a lot. And but it's like, based on my traffic, it's kind of interesting that I actually get more traffic from the States than I do here. And it's like, and and so I had to really change up my shipping, because I wasn't really paying attention to that. It was just primary like free shipping in Canada over this much, and then I have to So I apologize if I didn't give you free shipping at the time you bought from me, but I do now offer it for both the US and Canadian shoppers, because I was like surprised that I got a lot of traffic from the States, especially like in the States. You guys have so many boutique tea companies. I admire so many of them over there. And then I realized how much cheaper it is to ship within the United States than it is in Canada. So I'm like, oh, I should really consider maybe relocating.
Well, I'd love to have you in New England. That's where I first met you. And
Where did I meet you again?
I think it was it was like at a social media conference in Cambridge. It was like a morning event in Cambridge. I forget the exact business. It was
Yeah.
networking groups I was part of, and then I ran into you. And then I saw you again at my Toronto vacation in 18 with me and my Cornell friends. And that was awesome, seeing you again. So, I
Yeah.
definitely,
I know the
definitely.
tech world is a small world.
Yeah. What did you do professionally before Babooshy?
Well, I've been working in the tech space, and it kind of like always kind of worked around, like I did start off like producing a tech show, where we reviewed technology gadgets here in Vancouver, actually. And then when I moved to Toronto, I worked in the startup space, whether it was in social media, sales, or partnerships. So it kind of like reciprocated over that. And then, during COVID, I worked on a startup. And yeah, so it's just been like that's been kind of my place. And I'm really hoping to even scale this business better so I can kind of move away from that grind. I'm over it now.
Yeah.
Tech space, I'm a little over it.
Yeah, it's certainly a good career change. That's for sure. Now you mentioned that you've lived in Toronto and Vancouver. What's been your impression of each city, and what have you liked about it? What have you liked about each city best?
Oh, great question. So Vancouver is beautiful. When I moved back, it was like, or I mean, I guess that's not fair, because I feel like when I moved to Toronto and it was just so lively and fun and amazing. There's so much to do, like, and I loved going to the Raptors games. The summers there were fun because I met friends that had cottages. So we were at cottages. I was always cottaging in the summer, or, going to a concert, going to cool, and Toronto has the best restaurant scene too. So I just loved the liveliness, and I met such great friends. I had so many communities of friends, and made them really quickly too. And it's a lot fast. It was fast paced. When COVID came around, and just like how the city just paused and everything shut down for a good year, like things were closed. Restaurants were not, you weren't allowed to go to restaurants, you weren't allowed to go to stores, except for like the big box stores or even a grocery store. So which is why and everyone was working from home, which is why I chose to come back to Vancouver. And my family's here. And so and then coming here, just like the nature was so relaxing, and I got into tennis and I got into golf. So it's like those things are quite good perks, but it's like I'm not going out as much as I used to when I was in Toronto, that's for sure. So but I guess it's part of my process of slowing down too, so it's very nice. The weather is great. When it rains, it's way too rainy. But yeah, no, I do miss Toronto. It's a great city. It's a fantastic city. And
Yeah,
I'm
I
so
loved my
happy.
visit. Yeah, I loved my visit there. I just saw so many, so many fun, yeah, I saw a Blue Jays game, saw an absolutely beautiful Ukrainian Catholic church, CN Tower, the zoo. I went to a bunch of I went to a bunch of wineries towards Niagara by the
Oh,
Lake and
good for you.
Niagara Falls. It was a trip and full. I met you, and I met you, Tara, Tara, Paul, Runa, and
Your Cornell friends,
yeah,
yeah.
my Cornell friends. That was a lot. That was a lot of fun, and it was a really nice vacation, a really nice road trip for me.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah, no, Toronto's great. Yeah, just so great. I always just had a good time there. And but yeah, you were totally, everyone was just working hard, playing hard, and it was great. Like I loved it. I loved that energy so much. I do miss it. But yeah, Vancouver is it's just, it's very fresh here, and it's very beautiful, and being by the water, especially the ocean, is therapeutic.
I don't do you like going to beaches? Do you like
No, I don't do the beaches
boating
here
or
because they're not that pretty, but just sitting by it is good enough for
oh,
me.
I got you. Great. I know you've done some really good travel over the years. Such as I noticed you've gone to Arizona, to Peru, to China. Where else have you gone that's really notable, and what have you liked about what have been some of your favorite vacations?
Hmm. Um, well, I mean, yeah, every trip has been great. I've gone to Taiwan with a bunch of friends that it was like a last minute endeavor, and I actually discovered a video that I did about like learning how like they're like where they had we went to a mountain and they had specific tea leaves from there, and I yet to post it on TikTok, but it was cool because that was such a, you know, that was the first time I went somewhere, and the group of friends that I went with, they actually had a really great itemized schedule. But we did so much in 2 weeks that I almost wish we only stayed in a few cities and embraced it a little bit more. But there's just such a vibrancy over there that I really admired. I love Asia. I would like to go to Japan. That would be my a country I would love to visit. What was I gonna say? Yeah, like you know, before I was really lucky before COVID happened. I did go to Peru in end of 2019, and then I also went to Mexico just before COVID. And for Mexico, there's an island called Isla Mujeres, which is like the island of women. And I don't know, I'm just like I very much feel like that. I've never been to like Cancun except for the airport or any of those popular destinations, but I really liked Isla Mujeres, which I don't know if people know of it, but it is an island and you need to take a ferry ride to get there, and it's cool. Peru has the most, it was like cool in a sense, like, there is, we were going sand duning, and then it was, you can go to different places or different cities within Cuba and be in different climates, which was fascinating. The food scene is amazing there. However, the elevation, no, wait, what is it called when your mountain is high? It's altitude. It's
Altitude.
like, yeah, altitude. The altitude in Cusco um was really intense. Like I did Machu Picchu.
Wow,
We
that's
walked that.
that's
So I
awesome.
didn't walk Machu Picchu per se. Machu Picchu was actually easier than the peak we did decide to go on because we didn't get tickets because it was sold out for Machu Picchu. But we went to Machu Picchu. We went to a different peak, which was so intense, but it was a great view of all of Machu Picchu. But oh my God, it killed me. It
Wow.
killed me. And then the altitude in Cusco was just, I was having a tough time. You have to take medication. It's quite an endeavor, but it was quite the adventure, and I highly recommend it, and I hope to go back again.
Yeah, you need some anti-inflammatory teas.
Yeah.
Adaptogenics.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. They did have teas that they were making you drink oh my gosh, I forgot the tea right now. Then it was a specific leaf. Like I want to say it's called cacao, but it's not. It's like I think it's derived off of like, yeah, gosh, I'm gonna have to Google it right now. But there were leaves that they were trying to get you to drink to help you not get sick or like dizzy or nauseous. Leaves in Peru. I'm just Googling that while we coke. It's called the coca leaves. Yeah.
Oh yes.
The coca. Yeah. It's help preventing from altitude and sickness in Cusco. Yeah. They were giving us that. And I was consuming as much as I could, but um But you know what? It was only like maybe a day or two where I was really off and needed to rest more. And then it was good.
Well, thanks for sharing. Thanks for sharing your experience. I know you're much
Have you ever
closer.
been?
I have not been to Peru yet. I did. I've not been to South America yet. Somebody else who I've interviewed made a game time decision to go to Colombia, Ecuador, and the Galapagos Island. And she,
Wow.
one of my previous episodes with Dana Bolster, she was sharing her experiences in each country, and she absolutely loved it there. And she also has travel tips for finding cheap flights, staying safe if you're traveling alone. It's a really good episode.
Yeah, I'll have to check that out. That's awesome. I know I haven't traveled that much in the past 2 years. I just went to like the States. I did Tennessee and I did Tennessee and DC. Went to Washington, DC for the first time. It was amazing.
Nice.
And I did Arizona. I did my first golf trip because I'm into golf now.
Oh, that's awesome.
This
I
was
saw
actually my
that.
golf. Huh?
Yeah, what part of Arizona did you end up going to?
Sorry, repeat that question.
Yeah, well, what part of Arizona did you go to? Because I'm actually
Well,
going again next month, and I went in 16.
so we stayed at like a friend's Airbnb in Goodyear, I believe.
Oh,
But
nice.
we went to Phoenician, which is in Scottsdale.
Yes, I've been
And
there.
then yeah, like you went to Phoenician or Scottsdale?
Both. My friends were staying at the Phoenician, and I hung out there, and I was swimming in the pool in the afternoon.
Yeah. Oh, amazing. Well, I love the Phoenician. I thought because we were kind of like we're still kind of new. Like I learned golf before I moved to Toronto and like played with my friends at the cottage, but I didn't really care about my score or my handicap or anything like that. But in 2021, I got really into it with what I have a golf buddy, and we got into it, and then we decided to go for her birthday. And we were supposed to go with someone else who happens to be the golf pro, who not happened to be, he is a golf pro. And he ended up getting COVID just before, so he couldn't
Oh
come, which
man.
really sucked. Yeah, it was annoying, but it was actually a really fun trip, and Phoenician was a great place to go play golf. Like because it's a very, how do I say it? I mean, I want to say it's like more of like the Disneyland kind of golf course. It's not that hard. It's beautiful. Like it's so beautiful, and it's not super complicated in terms of like the ridges and the mountains and stuff. I mean, there's no real mountains, but like it's not a tricky golf course. So it was a good place to kind of like have your first like outside of out like travel golf course. And then the next day we went to a golf course in Goodyear. I just can't remember the name of it.
Neat. I'm glad you went. That was one of my favorite trips. One of my best friends lives there.
In Arizona?
Yeah, he lives in Phoenix, and we visited Frank Lloyd Wright's house. Went to
Oh, wow.
Tucson, went to Sedona, went to the Grand Canyon. We went to New England. I'm a New England Patriots fan, as is he, and we went to see them play the Arizona Cardinals week 1 in 2016.
So you're a New England fan. Can I ask you a question? Are you mad at Tom Brady for leaving?
No, it was time. He was getting frustrated, and I'm glad he won a Super Bowl with Tampa. I don't think he would have won a 7th one with us. I was just talking to my friend about the exact same topic the other day.
Oh my gosh. Okay, gotcha. And then what do you think of his divorce?
Yeah,
Or no, or basically like retiring and then coming back after
yeah.
40 days.
It's too bad. It's too bad it didn't work. Yeah, it didn't work out in the end. They're both. Tom and Giselle are great people, and I know I think he's trying to play football as long as humanly possible. He's got other endeavors going on, and it's not the same. And I know Giselle did a great job, with their kids, and I think she's, fixing to get back to doing some of her endeavors. That's my theory, but
Yeah.
only the two of them know.
True story. Do you know how much she's worth?
It's well into the 3-figure millions, both of them. At this,
Yeah, she's worth more money.
I think,
She's worth 400
he's catching up
million.
to her, with endorsements. But yeah, I think she's worth more than he is.
She is, but she hasn't been like like really working the past couple of years. So it's like pretty amazing that she can somehow reap some good pay, like paychecks. But yeah, she's worth 400 million while he is worth 250. I mean, it's good. I mean, it's great
Only
money. But it's
250
like,
million.
yeah, only 250. But it's like, I think people always called her as like, what do they call her? Like a gold digger, and you're like, nah, she's actually more successful.
You mentioned you're into the Raptors. Yeah, what other sports do you like?
Oh, okay. So I do love the Raptors. And when I moved to Toronto, I got really obsessed with it. Like I got more and more into it. And I was really fortunate enough to, go to a lot of games in 2019 when Kawhi Leonard was there.
Yeah,
And
the
then
championship run.
we won the championship. I spent it was the first time in my life I've ever spent tons of money on a ticket to a sporting event. And that was just for the finals of the championship, because I don't think I'll ever really have a chance to do that again. I mean, maybe not, but I mean, just in Toronto, living in Canada, we only have one team, and they're Toronto Raptors. I mean, it'd be cool to go and to see a Lakers game in the championship round. That'd be cool. That'll be on my bucket list. Anyways, it was so fun, and watching the parade, I was really lucky because the office that I was working out of, they were on the street that they were walking through. So it was just like, because it was pandemonium. It was so busy on that day of the parade. And they were obviously like many hours late, but it was like perfect place to watch. And it was just such a cool experience. I really loved that year with the Raptors. I was so glued to it. But it was cool to have like, I had about like 7 years of just like a Raptor in training. Every year I got more obsessed with it. And then in 2019, I was just really lucky to go to so many games, in-person games. So I was really watching it. And it's so fun to go to a Raptors game. It's my favorite. So when I moved back to Vancouver, I got into tennis. I actually got into tennis with my dad because I wanted to like, I felt like for me during COVID, which was hard, my whole exercise regime is like, I need to pay. I don't like going to the gym. In order for me to get motivated, I need to pay for like Pilates or kickboxing or spin classes. And all of those were halted in Toronto. And it was really hard for me to do like those Instagram live things in the
Yeah.
house. Like I was just like, nah, I'm good. And so I did a lot of walking, but in Toronto, you weren't even allowed to go for walks. It was weird time. It was very weird time at the beginning of COVID. But when I came back here, like that's what I did, was walking. And then I was like, Dad, I really want to like try tennis. Like, would you play with me? And he's like, sure. And he happened to take lessons like maybe 10 years ago. And so it was like we were just like just learning. And we actually started off too with the kids ball, the red balls. And it's like this kid ball. It's like supposed to make it easier. And it was really fun to start off like that. And then we just progressively have worked our way. And it's just we play tennis, and it's kind of a cool like daughter father bonding, and we're having a good time with that. And so I got obsessed with tennis. So I've been following tennis a lot. I wish I was into tennis during the Roger Federer and the Serena Williams era, but I was late to the game. So it was really sad to see like her retire. And even I was really hoping that Roger Federer was going to wait one more year before he retired, because Roger Federer hosts this tournament called the Laver Cup. It's named after Rod Laver, who happens to be a major tennis star back in the day. I don't recall how
Yeah,
many
Australia.
championships
Yeah, I know
he
they
got,
brought
exactly,
that
from
over
Australia.
in Australia Open. Yeah.
Yeah, so you know him. So Rod Laver. And so it was named after him. And the concept is like Europe versus Canada. And so they're gonna do a like they just hosted one in the UK, and that's where like that was Roger's farewell. I don't know if you saw the videos of like Roger Federer and Rafael Nadal crying. So they were yeah, they were that so it happened there. But next year, or like in 2023, it's going to be hosted here in Vancouver. So I was just hoping
Nice.
he was gonna I was just hoping he would retire, waited one more year before he announced his retirement, because he would have had it right here. And I was like, I'm trying to figure out how to get tickets. I'm getting my brother on board. I'm like, dude, we all gotta come together. and get those tickets.
You mentioned you're a lot closer to your family now. What are their favorite teas?
Okay, so my parents are like, it's funny because my mom and dad have they just only have their own teas. So they don't really, but my brother likes the Empress Rose, the
Nice.
black teas.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah. But yeah, yeah, so yeah, that's right. That's Roger Federer. Did you watch tennis at all?
I usually watch the majors. I was
Fun.
actually driving back from the Canadian Maritimes, and there was like it was Wimbledon, and I think I believe it was him, and I think it went on multiple overtime sets. I forget. I had it on Sirius XM, and that was a really riveting match to listen to. I was like,
Wait, which was it
I believe
Wimbledon
it was
with him?
Wilmington, and it was Wimbledon in 19, and I think it was Federer, and I forget who his opponent was, but
Yeah.
really riveting match to listen to.
Oh, cool. I never
I
thought
was
to
like
listen.
trying to hold out to from crossing the U.S. border
Yeah.
until until the match was over, and then finally I was like, "This is going on too long. I gotta cross."
Yeah, for
Crossing back into
sure.
Maine, but it was really riveting.
Yeah. Oh, I never thought to listen to tennis. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, just I have Sirius XM, and so I can listen to live sports. I've can listen to football games in a drive. Hockey, I'm a big New York Rangers fan. I like the Mets for baseball. I've gotten a Liverpool FC for soccer, so I'll listen to them when I'm out and about as well. So I'm pretty
What's your favorite sport?
hockey, football, and soccer in that order are my top three.
Cool.
Yeah, I've seen Rangers games in New York City and Boston. I saw the Outdoor Winter Classic back in 2018. I had the Rangers on ESPN Plus in the back run on mute, and they scored 6 goals in the third period against the Red Wings. So pretty happy camper.
Nice. Nice. Yeah, no, it's I'm definitely more into sports in the past 2 years and like understanding the psychology of like how it all like how like the mindset that a tennis player, for example, has is just unreal. Cause I mean, I would feel like shit all the time because you're losing all the time. It's
Yeah,
only like a few people that actually win, and it's out of like 100, and then they get one person wins the tournament. Even the person that comes in second feels like shit. You're like, it's just like how?
I think Ricky Bobby said it best. If you're not first, you're last.
Yeah. I'm like, that's a mindset, and it's just like, and like the rush, and even with Serena's last match, it was against an Australian player. I let Tomlovic is her last name, I believe. Anyways, she was like really composed, but like people are definitely rooting on Serena, and it was very loud, and she did a really, really good job of like composing herself and being patient. But there were moments where she's just kind of looking at the umpire and is like, control this crowd. And so you're gonna snap, like it's gonna happen because there's so much adrenaline there. So I do find sports fascinating, and I'm also into Formula One because of that Netflix series. If you've watched that, Drive to Survive.
Yeah, I'm more of a NASCAR guy, but like
Mhm.
one of my fellow Liverpool FC fans, she's big into Formula One too.
Yeah,
So it's
I mean,
it's a really
I'm
cool
just like
sport.
learning it. I'm still don't understand it, but I have been watching all the races since the British Grand Prix for this year.
Cool, that's wonderful. Thanks for sharing your experience. I know you have to wind down on your end. So, how can our listeners get a hold of you?
Well, you can find me at babooshytea.com, which is BABOOSHY and then TEA. I'm on all socials. Well, I'm
Especially
predominantly
TikTok.
yeah, TikTok for sure. Instagram, all my handles are at Babooshy Tea. Yeah, and then you can always message me there.
Yeah, I think for if I recall, it's free shipping beyond $65, both in Canada and the US. And if you had to pick a top three for a new client to start off with,
What
what
are they?
yeah.
So I would say are you looking for caffeinated or not? Or
Why
doesn't
don't we do like 2 caffeinateds, 2 non-caffeinateds then?
Well, then I mean, I'm always going to promote the Empress Rose because that's like my OG and my favorite. I do love I don't know, there's so many good ones. Like I love the I think our Earl Grey is pretty awesome. Um and I we do have a nice chai as well, so that's 3. I should stop talking. But as for herbal, I love oh, and a medium one, I would say definitely try the juicy oolong. It's a fan favorite. It's a very popular one. Gets probably the most reactions. And then I would say like Inner Glow and Romantic Getaways are one of my favorite rooiboses.
Nice. Well, thank you so, Leila. Thank you so much for coming on the Jimmy Daytona Show. I really appreciate it. And to my listeners, check out Babooshy Tea. Leila's a friend. She's a great businesswoman. She's got some great teas, and they're great to savor throughout the day. Thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me. Bye.